RFK Jr. has just come out and endorsed some form of reparations for slavery. And I love this story. Some conservatives are really upset by it. I'm not. I'm so happy about it. Here's what he said. He said, we need federal tax dollars to, quote, rebuild black infrastructure like banks and businesses. He supports, quote, direct redress payments or tax credits to black people by virtue of being black. He says communities that were specifically targeted for destruction need to be specifically targeted for repair. During Jim Crow, black banks, businesses, hospitals, schools, and farms were targeted for destruction. Racists knew that without these, the black community had no chance of building wealth. We must set aside federal dollars to rebuild black infrastructure. These programs complement direct redress payments or tax credits to the descendants of the victims of Jim Crow and other victims of persecution. RFK Jr. will find ways to offer this redress that are legal, fair, and win the approval of Americans of all races. Okay. You know, I hate to say I told you so. I called it when Americans and when the right-wingers in particular were saying, RFK Jr., he's a right-winger. That guy, he's a conservative candidate. We should back him over Trump or DeSantis or somebody. I said, he's a lib. He's a liberal. That's no knock on him exactly. He's always been a liberal. His name's Kennedy. He just sides with us on COVID vaccines, which is good, but there are other issues, like the economy and abortion and immigration and national security and like everything. And he's with the liberals on pretty much everything, environmentalism, energy. And he happens to be with us on COVID vaccines. To RFK's point, the actual point he's arguing here, he says that black people were treated unfairly, so we need to give them money in different forms. Of course, that was the point of the expansion of the welfare state in the 60s. That was the point of the Great Society. That was the point of the laws that followed the Civil Rights Act. It was about transferring wealth and investing in black infrastructure and giving handouts and tax credits and different sorts of things specifically to black people. And it didn't really improve things at all. So when you hear about a Kennedy Democrat, this is exactly what we're talking about. The Kennedy Democrats have not changed one iota since the 1960s. The problem is those policies from the 1960s didn't help anything. And in many ways, they hurt the country and the position of black people. So it's just more of the same. But the other reason I love this story is we've been told that from all the geniuses, even on the right, they say, if RFK Jr. runs, he's going to take votes from Trump. And the reason that people have said that is because Trump, he's a kooky populist. And RFK Jr., he's a kooky populist. And the kooky populists are going to take votes from one another. The people who have the opinion that RFK Jr. was going to take more votes from Trump than from Biden are the kind of people who really don't like Trump. And they write off Trump as some eccentric, populist, unmoored man who has no principles whatsoever, who just appeals to the basest appetitive elements in society. That's not my view of Trump. I like some of the other Republicans too, but I also like Donald Trump. And I have long thought that Donald Trump appeals to a basically coherent, in fact, rather traditional kind of American conservatism. And there's a coherence to his political program, even if he sometimes says things that are somewhat contradictory or eccentric. And therefore, if a liberal comes around, he's not going to be able to pull the wool over the eyes of Trump voters. That Trump voters are not as gullible and deplorable and irredeemable and whatever else the establishment tells us as the establishment might have us believe. And then guess what? You see polling Americans, even in certain decisive places, on who they would vote for if it were Trump versus Biden, and then who they would vote for if it was Trump versus Biden versus RFK Jr. And guess who RFK Jr. takes more votes from? Guess who hates to say I told you so? It'd be me. I'm the one who did it. Right now, go to expressvpn.com/Michael Knowles Show. It's extremely important to protect your online privacy with a VPN, and choosing a VPN you trust is equally as important. I can say with full confidence that ExpressVPN is the best VPN on the market. Here's why. Number one, ExpressVPN does not log your online activity. They've developed a trusted server technology that makes it impossible for their servers to store any data at all. Number two, speed. ExpressVPN does not slow down your user experience. You can even stream HD videos with zero buffering. Number three, ExpressVPN is incredibly easy to use. Just fire up that app and tap one button to connect. Not just me saying this. Business Insider, The Verge, and many other tech journals rate ExpressVPN the #1 VPN in the world. Protect yourself with a VPN that I trust. Use my link, expressvpn.com/Michael Knowles Show today. Get 3 months free on a 1-year package, expressvpn.com/Michael Knowles Show, expressvpn.com/Michael Knowles Show today. Speaking of the Republican primary, Ron DeSantis looking really, really good over the weekend as he himself evacuates more Americans from the Holy Land as war breaks out.
Happy to report we had another flight bringing Floridians back from Israel land in the wee hours of the morning. We've been able to help hundreds of people get back from the war zone safely to the United States, to the state of Florida. We've also put a lot of supplies that have been donated over to Israel, and I know they're really appreciative of it. And we've got another flight coming most likely tomorrow morning. So federal government dragged its feet. A lot of those folks didn't have any options. We stepped up, showed the leadership, and are delivering results.
This is the best thing DeSantis can do for his campaign, because it's also the thing that's going to give him a path if this primary doesn't go his way. Ron DeSantis is never going to beat Donald Trump at the charisma game. Nobody is. It's not even a knock on DeSantis. Nobody is. Ron DeSantis is not going to beat Donald Trump on the rhetoric game. DeSantis might have more controlled or disciplined rhetoric, but it's not as exciting. Ron DeSantis is never going to beat Donald Trump on the debate game. Trump's not even going to go to the debates. DeSantis is not going to beat Donald Trump on the rally game. Trump's always going to have more exciting rallies. The thing that Ron DeSantis can do is get results from his political office. Donald Trump does not currently have a political office. Ron DeSantis does. So Donald Trump, I guess, could send his airplane to live as a private citizen to lift people out of Israel. Might be kind of difficult to do. Ron DeSantis is governor of Florida with potentially constituents and family members of constituents in the Holy Land. He can send airplanes over there and he can get results done. And what's great about that strategy is, one, if Trump stumbles, he'll be able to point to, I've been doing this, I've been doing that, I've been very effective, I've been doing my job. I'm not just selling out my second term as Florida governor to run for president. I'm still getting stuff done, which he's doing. And if the primary doesn't go his way, he won't have completely blown his career on one failed bid for president. He'll still be able to point to momentum and achievements. He can make the most of his time in the office that he's sitting in, especially as the presidential election does not appear to be going his way. Boy, what a great clip that was, huh? It was good. And what do you do now? You got to ring the bell, subscribe to the Michael Knowles YouTube channel. We'll see you next time.